Good evening. Tonight, I wanted to do another movie review for you folks. This is the Bray Road Beast by Small Town Monsters and Seth Breedlove. I just wanted to say real quick that I don't really know these guys. I met the narrator, Lyle Blackburn, a couple of years ago briefly at an international Bigfoot conference. I've never met these guys. I don't get any kind of special favors or any kickbacks or anything from them. I bought this movie on Amazon. I rented it, I think, for $2.99 last Friday night. Wife and baby were out of the house, so I had a couple beers and watched this. And I just want to say, this documentary, this movie, is absolutely incredible. I was blown away by it. I've seen most, if not all, the Small Town Monster stuff. I've seen the Minerva Monster and Champ and a couple of the other ones. I've seen a lot of their documentaries, and they're all really well done. As they come out, the newer and newer ones, the graphics are better, the ambiance is better, the filming is better, the pacing is better. They seem to be doing a better and better job as they hone their craft. And Seth Breedlove's really turned out to be a great director, great producer. He's kind of just a regular guy, kind of like me, where this is his job, and he's slowly perfecting it and honing it. And I got to say, the Bray Road Beast was incredibly awesome. I think it was just a little over an hour long. What I really liked about it, is someone who's been into Bigfoot and Dogman and the cryptid stuff, is it really brought you back, because I thought I knew a lot about the Dogman, and this wasn't necessarily new groundbreaking information about theories or anything like that. This was bringing it back to where it came from. Obviously, Bray Road and a small town in Wisconsin. They talk a little bit about the Michigan Dogman too. But just this whole Dogman thing and kind of how it historically have been seen all across the world, how the Native Americans spoke of it. They talk a tiny bit about Bigfoot too in the area, but just this small town in the late 70s, early 80s, and people were seeing this creature on the side of the road like nothing had ever seen. It looked like a big wolf or a big black dog, and then it would stand up on two legs and run across the road, and which was great because it talks about the history. It shows you the locations of it. It gives very good visual descriptions and drawings and renderings, and talks about the history and how it goes way back even before this, even though this is where the term Dogman was kind of coined by Linda Godfrey, the reporter. She's an amazing lady. I've listened to her a number of times on a bunch of different subjects, and big fan of her work. And as a young reporter, she was kind of just like, okay, let's talk about this and let's take it seriously. The world needs more reporters that look into Dogman and Bigfoot and a lot of these things and take it more seriously, actually look at it objectively, which is what reporters are supposed to do these days. But instead of treat everything as a joke or being politicized, they're supposed to be very neutral and have a genuine interest, especially when people are seeing something out of the ordinary, are genuinely scared. Physical evidence of large dog tracks and roadkill that's been torn apart. It's really cool to hear it from her eyes, how she saw it at the time, to go back through her old newspaper articles and stuff that she had wrote and published. And you got to remember, this is modern era. This is 30 years ago, but before the internet too, and cell phones and cameras. And it was great because they got to interview people who saw it back then. They got to talk to current landowners and the problems that they saw and the different things that were going on. And also a little bit of strange lights and other stuff that they saw. They talk about just kind of the general high strangeness in this small, unopposing little town that actually looks like a nice place to live. And Bray Road today, it's just kind of this quaint little road driving through farmlands. And it is have kind of a creepy look to it even during the day, like kind of a lonely back road. And I can imagine at night. One thing that struck me that didn't really occur is that how open it is. It's all open farmlands. There's patches of trees here and there, but it's not densely wooded. It's not forest. It's definitely a rural area, and there are tree lines and the houses are spread apart. So a large animal, plus with deer and all the other things that are going there and livestock, a large animal could survive, but it would make sense to be at night because during the day you'd be out in the open, you'd be exposed. Although they talk about broad daylight sightings as well. Seems like this was just some kind of like your classic Dogman, some kind of a very large 400 pound dog wolf thing that would run around on all fours and be scavenging and would run alongside cars and stare at people and a lot of just creepy stuff. Then it would stand up and run away on two legs. Something unexplained, and it talks about the history of the dog man. It talks about the history of werewolves too, and about the Eastern European werewolves and all that kind of stuff, and going back to a little bit of history to like Anubis and stuff like that, and how it's not a new thing. Is people who dismiss Bigfoot also really dismiss Dogman as like, well, I'll believe in Bigfoot, but Dogman's just out there. Oh, that's an internet invention or something like that. And it's like, no, this was all before the internet. And if you look at the Midwest and you look at other areas, Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, all through these areas, they have a history of seeing the Dogman. And that's what was so great. It's really easy to get into the minutia with Dogman. What are they? Are they a demon? Are they a real creature? Are they an alien? Are they some kind of engineered species, a government experiment, a big hoax, a misidentification? It's really easy to get out into the weeds, so to speak. And that's what was so refreshing about this documentary, is how well done it was. The pacing was great. It wasn't overly long, but they talked about the history, the background, what people were saying, how much it scared people, how, werewolves and stuff. I mean, people described it as a werewolf because, in the 80s and late 70s and early 80s, and even now, if you saw an upright walking canine, you go, oh, that's a werewolf. Only the Dogman has kind of come into our vernacular in the last few years, but this kind of shows you that the term's been around a long time. They talk about some of the Native American perspectives of talking about these things, and it's really well done, well worth it. Suggest you have a glass of wine, maybe a beer or two, and just kind of sit back, keep an open mind, and the time goes by fast. Like I said, a documentary is a little over an hour, and I felt like I watched a 20-minute TV show. I won't say it was too short, because I think the length was about perfect. But it went by fast. I actually, I'm going to go back and watch it a second time here because it was just that good. And it was really neat to see the artist rendition. Like I said, Small Town Monsters, Seth Breedlove, they've come a long way on their computer-generated graphics and their artistic representations and, their reenactments. And they do a really good job of talking to the witnesses. And which was great is they can go back to the location with a witness and talk about it. Linda Godfrey, like I said, is always amazing. To see the small town, to see what you get a feel from just quiet farm life where you're working hard, you have a lot to do, and these people, and it snows and it gets cold there, and these are just regular run-of-the-mill folks who don't have a lot of time for nonsense. So for them to see something paranormal, something extraordinary, something that doesn't make sense, and to report it, to be genuinely scared. And like I said, some of the encounters, a lot of people, saw eyes glowing back at them in the bush, or they saw this thing running and keeping up with cars, the classic teenagers going out at night kind of a thing and coming across this thing, to broad daylight sightings. It was really cool to kind of hear the gambit. And, all the way up until very recently, people still see this thing or a midrid of things, and some of the variations in size and some of the variations in descriptions and the span of over the years of people seeing it makes you think that it's more than one creature, that it wasn't just one genetically modified wolf or a wolf, an abnormally large wolf with a hurt front paw that learned to walk on its back legs or something. It's not that. People are seeing this and a variation of it. And they really get into the description, the size, how they talk about the hands and fingers of these things look like somewhere between like a human hand and a dog paw with claws on it, and broad shoulders, and that kind of extended forepaw that looks like a backwards knee but with a front knee, and then kind of that rear thing with the extended forepaw like a dog's leg but standing upright. They go into a lot of detail. And like I say, they hit on the Michigan Dogman and a lot of other stuff. It's very cool. It's very cool. So I thought it was good. I'm going to say if there's any criticisms of it, I don't know. I mean, the graphics were very good for a documentary. I will say they're not like full Hollywood CG, but then again, they don't have millions of dollars in budget. They did very good with what they have. I'm very envious of it. I'd love to work with these guys in the future on something. But anyway, go check out The Bray Road Beast by Small Town Monsters and Seth Breedlove. It's got Linda Godfrey in it. It's narrated by Lyle Blackburn, who's also pretty awesome. It's a great combination. These guys are truly going from some great group of guys who make some good films to truly the masters of it. And can't wait to see what they're coming out with next. I know they're working on a Bigfoot one, and that'll really spike a lot of interest. Anyway, guys, thanks very much. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please hit the subscribe button. We got a lot of content coming out. And stay safe in the woods.